probably wondering whose car is that? That's my car. That is the new project car, and I'm gonna give it a wash, and while I do, I'm gonna voice over a couple things, and I'll explain to you guys basically what's been going on in the past 3 years. I've tried to make this video, I think I've counted 7 times already. 7 times I've tried to make just an explanation video of what I did throughout these 3 years, and 7 times I failed. So hopefully, this time's but I don't know. And I've also, tried doing install videos because I've had the car for a while. I've had it basically, this is July, the end of July. I've had it since end of January, early February. Excuse me. So I'm gonna give it a wash. I'll record it, and I'll voice over basically what's been going on in these 3 years. Let's do it.
Alrighty, so I suppose the first place I should start is more or less what happened with the Cobalt. And initially, the last video I made was of the Cobalt, and ever since then, I have been modifying it, or had been modifying it up until a certain point. I had done a couple of things to it. I finished the full exhaust, which is a custom straight pipe, essentially 3-inch straight pipe, bigger downpipe, so on and so forth. I also did a body kit for it, including an SS bumper and all types of stuff, but eventually I crashed it. And so when I crashed it, I'll actually put a picture of it here. Yeah, I obviously flipped it. And so when that happened, I totaled it essentially. So the Cobalt could no longer be a project. Now, simultaneously, once I was close to being done with the Cobalt, I realized I needed another project car. And so I picked up a 1992 Mitsubishi 3000 GT. The SL version. It was basically a barn find. I found it for cheap. It was not running. And my idea for it was, instead of going performance, I wanted to go very aesthetic. And my inspiration, it's going to wrap around to essentially why I got to this car. My inspiration was obviously RWB, going with a custom-made body kit, cutting the car yourself, so on and so forth. And so essentially that's why I picked up the 3000 GT, is to do so. Now, unfortunately for me, it was low compression in cylinder 1, so I essentially had to move to rebuild the engine. And I picked up a bunch of parts. I spent thousands of dollars for good parts, forged internals, so on and so forth. However, unfortunately, I ran out of time. I ran out of money because I was in school at the time. So I sold it. I sold it for how much I got it for, but I lost on the parts for obvious reasons. It's a very niche community with these people, but I found someone who was willing to pay a decent price for them. And essentially, I just got another beater Cobalt. Well, I had a truck after that, but for maybe a couple months. And then I got another beater Cobalt, which you could actually see in the background over there. And I had that for a while. Excuse me. And finally, I got into motorcycles. So I first had a 2008 Kawasaki Versys, I don't know, it was a 650. It was an EX 650, I believe. It was fun. I enjoyed it. Wanted something a little bit faster, so I got rid of it. And I moved to a 2001 Honda CBR 929RR. Excuse me. And I got really into riding. I still am. And I got into a cruiser, which was a 08 Honda Shadow 750. And I'll put a picture of both of them because that's more or less the only pictures I have right here. They were both modified. I did all the work myself. Very fun motorcycles, both of them. CBR was really fast. I mean, it was the Arian Racing, so it had titanium headers, full Yoshi exhaust. It had a Dyno Commander on it, flash tune. Let's see, what else? It had a couple things on there, but unfortunately, I more or less lost my edge, my nerve while riding, and I realized I could get seriously hurt. So I figured I'll pack it up for now, and when I get the balls again, I'll get back into it. And so I sold them, and I bought a 92 Chevy Corvette, yellow. I'll put it up on screen. I bought it not running, bought it for $4, fixed it, and I sold it for $7. With those $7, I bought a Subaru WRX, the Bug Eye Subaru. I'll put it up here. And I bought it running. It was a good car. I put an NVIDIA exhaust on it, unequal length headers, well, better unequal length headers, decatted up pipe, bigger turbo, bigger injectors. Got rid of it for obvious reasons. I mean, I had to pull the engine the first 2 weeks I had it, and I realized I wanted a Porsche. The only reason I got the Subaru was because I couldn't find one. Because I had sold the Corvette for profit, I had money saved up, so I had plenty of cash to afford, well, essentially a Porsche you see right there. But I bought the Subaru because I couldn't find a Porsche. And then I sold it because I wanted, well, I didn't sell it, but I still wanted a Porsche. So I traded it for I forgot what year it was. I think it was an 05? No. I forgot what year. It was a Mustang. It was a Mach 1. It was a 4.6 liter 32 valve. Right? Yeah, 32 valve. Add modifications to it, short shifter, full exhaust, headers, the works. Nice car. I actually really miss it. Out of all the vehicles I've had, I would say I miss that one the most, just because it was such a rowdy freaking car, man. I get why Mustang guys do stupid shit. It's because that vehicle facilitates it. I will forever believe in that, because my fucking goodness, it was so rowdy, it was so fun, and it was enough power to have fun, and yeah, it was enough power to get you in trouble. But moving on, I finally found what you see in front of you, and that is a 1997 Porsche 986, or the Porsche Boxster. At this point in time, I couldn't find a Porsche Boxster S, or rather I made an offer. This guy wouldn't sell it. I didn't lowball him. I made him a pretty decent offer, considering that headlights were cracked, paint was shit, everything was rusted. Now, well, it was surface rust, but out here in the desert, where there's practically no fucking water, you would expect there to be little to no rust. But in comparison to, I believe this guy got it in Washington, so case in point, it was rusted. So I made him a decent offer, but he wouldn't go. So I said, that's fine. I found this vehicle over in Tucson. So I made the drive. It was about 6 hours over to Tucson. And yeah, sure enough, it was at a dealership, which I wasn't exactly happy with, because then I had to pay all these extra fees, docking fees, maintenance fees, taxes, registration. I don't know. I've never bought from a dealership before. I should have done my research into it, because there was a bunch of fees that they tacked on, and I was peeved because I drove 6 hours. I didn't want to walk away without a car. So in the end, I ended up buying it. I ended up breaking it on the way home, which was a fun little anecdote I have that I tell everyone whenever they look at the vehicle. They were like, "Oh, nice. Where'd you get those wheels?" I'm like, "Oh, out of necessity, because I cracked one of them." Which I did. I ended up splitting it between the barrel and the rim, which was super fun to try and find out. Because I'm over here thinking, yeah, I could just, it's a little dent. I bent it back into shape. Sure enough, it wasn't leaking from the rim. I go and I check where it connects between the rim and the barrel. Massive crack. 10 out of 10, wouldn't recommend. Or, yeah, potato. But that's more or less where this vehicle came from, and more or less the history of the vehicles. I've been super busy with school, but
alrighty, so that more or less brings this video to a close. I am gonna try and upload as much as possible. I have a bunch of videos on the card saved, but it's basically bits and pieces of what I did to the vehicle, side splitters, splitter, the canards. I don't have a full video. I suppose I could piece it all into one, but I'm gonna do my best. The wrap I didn't even try and tape. I suppose the next project is going to be the exhaust and the diffuser, which I'm going to try and get in its entirety because it's essentially the whole rear of the vehicle that I'm going to be working on, and it's going to be pretty cool. I'll explain that in the next video as well. I'll try and have the parts here as well because we're going to be doing a full custom exhaust on it. But for right now, that's going to be everything. If you guys enjoyed watching, I'll see you guys in the next one.